I am so privileged today to interview my special guest. I met her earlier this year through RUSHWahine. She founded Rush in 2014 to empower women business owners. But her credentials are just amazing. She brings decades worth of professional sales and marketing experience. She earned her business management bachelor's degree. She's a world traveler, started her realty business in 2016 in Maui. And her role today is sharing her experiences and challenges of being a mom of a 16-year-old only child. And I really appreciate you willing to share because I know it's a tough thing to share. And I'm sure a lot of moms will just connect with you in this area.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
So what do you think is the most challenging thing that you never expected about raising a 16-year-old boy?
Well, first of all, it's teenage environs or teenage years are a little foreign to me because I had such an anomaly of a childhood myself. So whereas a mom who may have had the full experience of her childhood and graduating high school under the same roof of her parents, or at least a parent, that's a whole nother dynamic of a teenage life, of a teenager life. For me, I've been on my own and since I was 13. So the standard stay at home, do your homework, the expectations of a teenager life is a little foreign for me. I've had to sort of self-discipline most of my upbringing, my latter part of my childhood. So I think what's unexpected for me, what is really trying to understand the dynamic that he has versus my childhood. And it's not so much in the sense where it has to be so contrast, right? Where he needs to experience life the way I have or learn the way I have. But it's for me trying to instill the humility that I learned along the way, the hard way, while trying to provide a better life for him and still helping him along the way of understanding the value that it is and appreciation behind it.
So are there certain things that he shares with you where you're taken aback? You know, we always have those questions as moms and you think, I need some time to think about it. You know, when they're just asking, hey, mom, I have two daughters. So what kinds of questions does he feel comfortable? Sometimes as a teenager, they don't feel comfortable, right? And you have to, how do you navigate that?
I think we have great communication. I mean, you know, I was a single mom for the majority of his childhood from when he was about a year and a half or 2 to 9, where we married. So he and I had a 7-year window together, just exploring each other and learning each other. And of course, I was a new mom and a new me. Every day I'm a new me, right? Every day I learn myself as a mom. And I think the fallacy behind parenthood is that we know better.
Exactly.
We are supposed to understand our role and how we're supposed to act in that moment. And we expect our child to understand their role in that moment. And it's just not true. Everything's teachable. And every day is a learning experience, not just, I mean, I always say, hey, I'm a first-time mom. There's no excuse. Like no one can look at me and tell me it's supposed to be perfect because I'm a first-time mom every day. I'm a first-time mom to a teenager. I'm a first-time mom to a 16-year-old, to a junior in high school. You know, every experience that he sort of uncovers and discovers on his own is also new for me. So being able to have a healthy relationship and open relationship through discovery process is so important for ourselves and for the relationship of our family. And I've always been a very real mom. You know, I just don't have the time to be any other way. You know, having to raise him on my own from when he was a young age. He traveled a lot with me. And he's actually more of a world traveler than I am. He's explored Europe and Japan and places I've yet to touch. So he's well traveled as well. He's highly intelligent and just very mature for his age. And I think that's just because, you know, ever since he was young, he would be with me at work, any site inspections at the hotel. On a Saturday, when he's done school, pick him up from school, take him back to my office, work till 9. He's doing homework there. We're doing dinner there. We're doing all the things that it takes to provide for him and build a career as well, to provide comfortably for him and keep us safe. And it hasn't come without its scars and lashes and all those things that life is. But we continue to learn. We continue to learn every day still at 16, you know, and then there's other things to discuss beyond this, and just being able to feel comfortable in that space. Like, for instance, one big probably realization for me recently was that, you know, I'm already talking about the contrast in our upbringings, right? And so often I think as parents, when we've had it rough, and not just had it rough, I mean, I think it's generational that, you know, you hear, you know, grandpa yelling at your mom for saying how many miles he walked in the snow to school, and, you know, how hard it was for us, and the lack of, and the truth is it was. Every decade, every generation, we evolve as a community, as a culture, as a world. And so it becomes more easy over time because the tools are available, unlike it was yesterday. So yes, let's acknowledge first and foremost that we are completely different in our my time, your time, my mom's time, my son's time, my grandpa's time. It'll never be the same. And we, for some reason, have this complete expectation that it is. And we our mindset has to evolve. The way we communicate has to evolve with what's in front of us. And so for a long time, I did what many moms and parents do, which is like, you know, throw the guilt on the kid by saying what a shit life I had compared to yours, and how you should be grateful and all of those things, you know, because I never had an iPhone when I was young. Well, we didn't have iPhones. You know,
right.
Sure, our equivalent to X product, absolutely, we can go back and forth all day, but essentially it's really acknowledging that irrespective of the plus or minuses that it is, it's still our own experience, and that we still feel the pain or the success of it differently, and that we shouldn't discount one another through it. And that was probably the most recent realization, and massive one for me, and that came directly from him. He feels, you know, comfortable enough to say, and he's kind about it, and he sandwiches, and he does it all the right way, positive, and you know, and then constructive and reinforcement again. And basically his message was, look, I love you. I know that you've had a rough childhood. I know it's been different for you. I know how far you've come. I appreciate you, and I'm very grateful. But at the same time, it's not okay to discount my feelings to what's going on. And it's true. And so
I love that. You know, my daughter, Chelsea said something similar, where you think, you know, parents are giving these life lessons, and you know how hard, we had no internet, we had no Google, we had to go to the library. And she said, but you know what? It minimizes the pain that they're going through. And I just realized right what you just said. We don't, we think we know better. We think we want them to appreciate. We want them to appreciate everything that we've done, not realizing that the guilt trip, because I think all of us moms feel that way. I just had a mom say, you know what? I don't feel appreciated by my sons. I feel like they don't realize how much I do. And I think as a mom, if we release that need, which is really, really hard, she actually said, I hope he visits me at the cemetery. She's worried that he won't visit her. It's almost like feeling unimportant, feeling unappreciated. And I think as a mom, you know, that calling as a mom, how do you deal with that? You know, when you feel very unappreciated, because we do a lot of stuff, you know?
It's our job.
Yeah. But that's what I'm realizing. It's a calling. And so when I told my daughter, you know, it's something that I signed up for, and that I want to do it, even though I might not show it.
Listen, the only thing we have to make sure is that they're kind.
Yes.
That's our job. It's not to have them make us feel good.
Exactly.
About them being appreciative to anyone who's giving, anyone who's thoughtful, anyone
Right.
who's going to give them their time. And so it's not so much that I'm mom, so you need to appreciate me at this level. It's someone's doing something good for you, helping you, giving to you. You need to appreciate them no matter what.
When knowing, don't you think that as a mother, we cannot define our worth by, our kids appreciating us. We have to know that we're doing the best job we can, no matter how our kids behave. Because I think that's the thing. When they misbehave, when they make poor choices, for some reason, moms feel so
Sure,
responsible for
sure.
whatever they do.
Well, I think it's a reflection of our parenting.
Well, see, and that's the
Feel
thing.
that. We
We
feel
feel that. We
that
feel
it,
that.
yes, it's not true. There's a lot of variables as to scenarios, certain
Yes.
scenarios, what happened, especially when our kids not around us. We don't know what's fully taking place to feel the guilt behind it. But it's true. We feel responsible for the way our kids operate, as we should.
Mhm.
Not everything, sure, they become their own person over time, but we are responsible for the core of who they are majority of the time. I don't want to put a blanket on and say that's how it is, because we know there's different variables, like I said, the individual themselves, the child, the parent, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-mm.
But really, I think, for me, for my son and I, just going through our journey together, I talk a lot, I communicate a lot, I share a lot of little nuances, the things that from everything from like when he goes shopping, he always says, I was here in my head, like, do you really need that?
Exactly.
But you know what? If he goes shopping with his friend, he come home with an ice tray because that's what we don't have in our freezer, and that's what he bought because he, it's not that I want him to enjoy everything and of course understand value and all that, but it's really, um, we're there. I always say I don't expect you to know, but I do expect you to listen, and I do expect you to learn from it. And that's another fallacy and false expectation of parenthood and kids, is that when we tell our kids to clean the room, we expect them to know what it looks like. Clean the bathroom, take the dogs out, whatever we tell them to do, we expect. But do you think a housekeeper at a hotel just gets unleashed in the room and knows how to fully operate and turn that room around the way that the company expects them to? No, and they're adults and they have their own homes to manage and they take care of their own families and they clean their bathrooms for years and years, but they still get taught and
I love
trained.
that.
And so we think the simple chores of understanding, the basic upkeep, and when they don't do it to our liking, it's frustrating. But what does it look like? We have to train them. We got to walk them through it. We got to, I have my son shadow me. He's been washing his own clothes since he was about 10.
Hmm.
Washes his clothes separately. He understands how to break it down. All of those things. I have him shadow me cleaning his bathroom, shadow me cleaning his room, and just all the shadow me cleaning the kitchen and cooking, and just hang out and watch and teach along the way where you can. And of course it's annoying. I mean, every parent is, for me, I always feel like I know I talk a lot, but it's because, I know it's going to kick in when it's supposed to later on. And that's my
Yes.
job my job is to provide all of the guidance for him. And then he applies it as he wishes, and hopefully in the right way when it's supposed to be. It's all for his best interest. So whatever he yanks from it is going to be great when he needs to apply it. And I remember one time, going through our journey, I remember one time saying, when you're 18, hey, listen, it's not easy right now. And especially when you turn 13 and you became a teenager, I said, it's like you're a little weird alien right now. It's weird for all of us. I said, you're too young, you're too old to do stuff you really want to do, like play with toys, and then people think it's weird, and you're too young to do stuff that older kids are doing. So it's a very weird time. As
Yeah.
teenage time is a very weird time of their discovery and the things that they should be doing versus what they can't be doing versus what they want to do and what we think
Right.
teenagers should be doing. And so it's just allowing ourselves that space of growth through each window, especially without expectation of what we think it should look like. as
But
parents.
that's what you just touched on, without the expectation, because I think I hear a lot of moms say, and it's common sense, they should know this. And then I just realized, I was telling my husband, that is, like you said, a fallacy, because what our expectation is totally different. Like what you just said, right? Clean the bathroom. And in our mind, it is like the toilet and the sink and the floors and like everything. And they just think, I'm just going to like wipe the tub and then, go, I don't know, one round with the towel on the sink. Okay, I'm done. And they look at it. But unless the shadowing though.
That's
See,
it.
and then it sounds like you really take the time to teach and have him watch, because I made the mistake, a mini story where I had my daughter, I think she was 12, to cook rice. And I thought she had watched me. My planner was right by the rice cooker. So she put the water, Terra, in not the rice pot, but in the pot. Water, and I don't swear, water went all over my planner. And I was like, what the F were you thinking? And she was like looking at me, because I never swear. And I was like, that's my planner. That's my life. Until today, she's 24. And she goes, Mom, I will never forget. I go, I know. But my planner is my, my students, there was no electronic calendar. And it was just, and I just thought, how have I failed? How have I failed?
Sure.
And then you blame yourself, and then you realize.
I think too, I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't think what we also understand is those moments happen because it's a first time for us. Okay.
Yes.
The first time for you. So your next daughter, I'm sure when it was time to teach, you didn't just let her go to the stuff. I'm sure you probably taught her. So it's a first time for you too, to experience that. And we may not always act right. We may not always respond proper because it's new for us, but it's really what we do after with it. Right? After acknowledging that or being upset or reacting, it's really what we do with it after.
Owning it. Yeah.
Owning it, teaching proper, apologizing for freaking the fuck out. You get it?
Yeah.
Owning it, and then saying, let me teach you. Right? It's not easy.
Well, I think that's where parents sometimes,
right?
Yeah, the apologizing, because like you said, we think we know better, and then we think it's almost like an embarrassment, because we shouldn't lose our temper. We shouldn't say.
Or we're just really mad at the kid.
Yeah, that too.
So upset at that them, too. At the situation that we can't get, and that's sufficient. Like that's enough. That's enough to move on or let go. But that sits with them. And it sits with you too as a parent, right? If you're present. Because you got to be present.
Yes.
You got to be like 100% present.
I think that would change the way we parent, just being present. And like you said, teaching kindness. But recently I'm realizing kids don't feel unconditionally loved. When they get punished, they think my mom doesn't love me. And then when they get their phone back, she loves me. When it gets taken away. And I didn't realize, we think it is, learning lesson. You gotta, right, have consequences, but they internalize it as not being loved, which I never.
Yeah. And what's the consequence for not knowing, really?
Right.
It's fucked up. We got to be so mindful of that, what we really think our kids know, and it's not cool. And so I'm a big believer, like even today, if we communicate or want him to do something, I always say, show him. To my husband too. If he wants him to do something, show him first. If you don't like it, when you don't show him, don't complain.
Right.
Don't complain. I let my son unpack the entire kitchen. Is it perfect? No. But it's his way he did it, and I asked him to do it. I'm not going to complain.
Wow.
I'll adjust it where I need to, but if I want to appreciate him and give him that liberty to frame out properly so he can learn, I got to not yell at him for misplacing a spoon, because he at least tried to help. And
uh-oh, you just froze for there. Terra? Oh no. Terra? We just lost her. I'm hoping she's going to come back. Oh, there you are. We just lost you for a second about the spoon. But I think that's what is just so important, because if you don't encourage, if you don't, like you said, give them opportunities to try without the criticism, right? Without the judgment,
They don't learn.
they don't learn.
And they don't want to try again. That's another
That's
thing.
the point. Yeah.
They won't want to try again. And then we're going to look at them and think they're lazy, or that they don't give a shit. When the reality is they don't want to deal with it.
Well, because they don't want to disappoint you. They don't want you to make them, they feel incompetent. You think it's criticism to help them become a better person. And then they take it as, well, I guess I'm not good enough. I guess I'm not gonna.
I think for me, I want my son to be a leader for himself. I want him to try. If I give him a task to do, I want him to figure it out and be resourceful around it. I don't need him to do it the way I do it. I need him to do it where it works, but his way. And that's good. That's if I'm going to allow him, I got to empower him through it, because I'm not going to be around when he goes on his own. He's got to figure that path out. So if I'm doing every which way, or criticizing him when I don't think it's right, even though it's done, and he's not going to try on his own.
Wow. I'm going to make that a parenting tip. I think a lot of times we just want it done my way, the right way. And I had someone who had her kids decorate the Christmas tree, and she was like, oh my gosh, no. And then when they went to sleep, she redid the whole tree. And then it makes them think they did it wrong.
Oh, also you wasted their time.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. My son decorated the tree last year. Great. One less thing I got to do.
Right.
Unload the kitchen, right. Do the library a certain way. You want to color code the books? That's not normally how I do it. I do it by genre, but great.
Wow.
You gotta do. And it's not bad. It's not horrible. It's just different. And if I want to change it, I can. And if I want to change it, if I want to change it, I still can.
Right. You can you can, but the thing is, he feels, like you said, empowered. He feels that you trust him and that you believe in his abilities to carry out.
And the next time I ask him to do something, he's gonna just lead his own way.
Yes.
That's exactly what I need him to do for everything, with school, with studies, with the job of his own. Everything he does on without me, he has to feel comfortable and confident in his decisions. Now, it's not going to always be right, and he's going to learn his lessons and get his ass kicked from other authorities, which is great and needed.
So do you think you became this way because of the journey that you traveled? Because most moms, I mean, this is something that I think all parents would benefit from, but there's too much of a control. And I think that's people who call me for tutoring, it's like they are not doing what they're supposed to do. I want them to do this, and this, and they're not doing it. They're lazy, they're failing, they're, fill in the blank. So do you think, it sounds like because you were so independent at such a young age?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I didn't have the framework that he has. So I was always empowered. I was on my own. So I've had to make my own decisions and take care of myself. So he doesn't have to make his own decisions he doesn't have to take care of himself, but I still want him to have an empowered mindset that this is his life. And you got to work within the framework as long as I pay your bills. But once you're on your own, you have to have the mindset and the ability to take care of that on your own. And so really, he doesn't, like I tell him, you don't owe me shit. I brought you here. You didn't ask to be here. You don't owe me anything. This is my job. But I expect you to appreciate it, learn from it, value it, and be kind and respectful.
Wow.
And when you're on your own, you're going to do what you need to do, and you can do whatever you like. It's just like anything else, like extracurricular activities or drinking alcohol. The thought process with kids and family and dynamics is, parent should society probably makes parents feel bad about drinking around kids, or kids think that it's a negative thing if parents are drinking around them, or I'm just using it as an example, whatever you want to do. But the
Mhm.
reality is, if I'm an adult and I'm taking care of myself and my responsibilities, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And child and adult, as long as I'm doing my job to him, towards him, taking care of him, he won't judge me through it.
Right, right.
And he doesn't get to tell me what to do either. I respect
Exactly.
I respect him. I honor him. I have a conversation. I'm mindful about what my parenting, what I exposed him to, of course. But at the end of the day, he will be 18 one day, and he will take care of his own bills one day. And I don't want him to ever feel like he's not in control of that. As long as he's taking care of himself and his responsibilities, he's going to do whatever the fuck he wants when he's an adult. And up until then, it's my job to guide him through it. And like I said, he doesn't need to learn the way I learned, but I want him to be empowered.
Wow. Well, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's, you know, of course, this is all the right things that's going on. Getting there, and the process isn't easy because I learn every day. I have no idea. There's, like I said, there's no manual for this in life. You know, there's no instructions for this, and we got to give ourselves grace to understand that every day is a new day for me. I always say, even to my husband, even, you know, he's his stepfather, of course. Sometimes he feels like, oh, he might not be equipped, because that's not, and that's normal to feel that way. But the truth is, we've been doing this side by side now for the last 7, 8 years together. And so at this point where he's a teenager, we're both new to this every day. And so we just have to allow ourselves to understand and be gentle with ourselves, as long as we're doing right by him, right by the kid, right by our children, um, that we are putting them first always,
Hmm, hmm.
even when we were going through my divorce with his father. You know, it didn't need to be ugly or anything, because my whole point behind it was, as long as we do right by him, we will be doing right. So not putting ourselves first, not being selfish, not thinking about other stuff for ourselves, but what's the best scenario for him and his, what he needs and stuff. Not spoiling, just doing my job,
Hmm, hmm.
you know, of raising him, of my responsibility as a mom. So I'm not a
Wow.
perfect mom. I'm not a saint. But I am who I am every day. And I think that he's a very confident and strong, brave uh, boy for it. He's going to be an amazing man.
It looks like it. And I think what you just mentioned, being authentic, not feeling or making your child feel, you know what, I know better. So you have to do what I say because I'm the parent. And I think that's where it takes a lot to do what you're doing, you know, to just be.
I tell him and my all the kids, when even when his friends come over and we talk, if they have questions about, I just say, I'm just older than you. Doesn't mean I'm smarter or know better. I'm just older. And we're learning together of what the best scenario looks like today, because we are learning every day. So I do think that it's the condescending thought process that I'm smarter, I'm better, I'm older. That's just fucking annoying. It's
Yeah.
not cool at home. It's not cool at work. It's not cool at school. And parents have sometimes have a bullish attitude towards their own kids. And I don't want him to ever feel like less than. So if I'm doing it to him, then he's going to feel like it's okay for other people to treat him that way. And it's not,
Wow.
because I'll kill a motherfucker. And he knows it, Mama Bear. No, I'm just kidding. But really, it's just I want him to always feel, and I will tell you, you know, he's 16, he's gay, he's come out when he's 14. He, you know, is very brave of him. We have huge discussions still today about his journey and what that looks like, and um, how he feels through it. And it's new for me, right? It's a whole new world for me. Of course, I have very close friends and family in, you know, LGBTQ, but it's different from being supportive and loving of it, irrespective, because we're family, and then also then being raising and empowering some, you know, a child through their journey to ensure that this is truly their life and no one should take that.
Well, and isn't that like the best thing that a parent can do, to just show like 100% acceptance and to create, I think you just created a safe environment so your son feels comfortable sharing, because so many boys, I know someone who didn't want to tell his parents, got married, had two girls, and then finally years, decades later, he came out after his parents passed.
Right.
But I think if the secret you think is just creating like a safe, nurturing environment.
I think in this day and age too, I have the assistance of society. Let's be honest. As much as it's a unfortunate discussion in our economy today politically, it shouldn't even be a discussion at this point, but it is. But outside of that, I think humankind has changed. Mankind has changed their lens toward it, and so it's widely accepted now within the kids nowadays. So the support of the community, I should say, and society's lens on it has made my life easier, so that he feels comfortable enough sharing too.
Well, I think,
right?
but you created that safe environment. I think if you grow up in a very like strong Catholic home, your parents openly express, right, that they are not, they don't condone it, then as a son, you would be fearful because you know that you're not going to have that acceptance. But I think, Terra, you've created like such a nurturing environment. And like you said, yes, it is societal expectations are, or they're more, right? People are more open-minded.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, I mean, I think that it's a combination, obviously of everything. Sure, if it wasn't as comfortable and it wasn't safe, it would be tougher. And but that's why, that moment in itself tells me who he's going to be.
Oh, yes.
Period.
I mean, that empowerment and that, it's like you said, a leader, because you would not be able to even lead that thought and just be brave enough to share that. That must have been quite a conversation.
Sure. And and I haven't, I mean, those moments, I think that's a bigger discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But we can really fuck it up for them if we don't manage it right. And as much as I thought I did it right in my mind, I also failed in that moment in towards him in those moments too, because it's okay.
It's a first time or two.
It's the first time. So in my mind, it went great because for me, I as a parent, I'm like, of course, and I even talked about processing and that whole process, allowing each other time to process, all those things. But even in that moment, as comfortable and brave as he was sharing it, sure, it took a long conversation. It was a very heavy conversation, and even though we have the same general outcome of that conversation, we still have different takeaways, of what happened during that conversation. And in my mind, I thought I did everything right. But when he finally shared stuff that one thing that I didn't do right, of course, it's natural to be defensive, because in my mind, it's like, oh my God, I thought he did a great job. And most parents are total assholes and don't even allow that. And all those things that I can start defending myself all day if I wanted to. But irrespective of all the right things I think I did, I still did one thing that affected him that's not so positive. And I need to own that. And that's huge.
Wow. See, and that's powerful though. That is a really powerful message where you own it. I've been doing that recently, and it's hard. It is so hard because you have to know that it is not weakness. It is not something that, you should be embarrassed for, because your child will look up to you and you're teaching them as well to own it. Oh, no. Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
It is totally all of those things. And yeah, I mean, regardless, I just feel so lucky to even have the opportunity to be a mom.
And I think if more moms felt that way, instead of, being cursed or like, why is my child doing XYZ? It's like, there's so many people who, I mean, it is a a gift, right? It is a gift
Yeah,
to,
I think yesterday on Facebook, someone said, "Oh, what's something positive that came out of like the COVID thing or your kids were being at home?" And of course, it's funny. You know, you got to take everything with a grain of salt on social
right,
media.
right,
You know,
right.
depends on which moment you're in. But for me, I was like, for me, I get to see more of him. That's a plus for me.
Yeah.
Sure, it's not, you know, it's all kinds of different words, but you know, I feel like he's 16, he's self-sufficient. I'm not, there's a lot of my friends who are dealing with, you know, grade school children right now and multiple, and it's just a lot that the mamas are going through. And so just gotta continue providing support, like the support you're providing for parents out there to get them through this, you know, very interesting time. And the good thing about it is that um, it's needed outside of this, irrespective, you know, this kind of conversation for parents is so important to us seeing ourselves.
Well, knowing that we're not alone. So I really appreciate you sharing. I mean, this is something that was a must. I think it's just a must for parents to know that we all, right, go through challenges. It is not an impossible task. It seems impossible, but you've just shown that through a rough upbringing, that you can raise a resilient, right, respectful, responsible boy. And it just shows that I think sometimes we don't think that we're equipped, but
Sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the best advice I probably have for any parent
mhm.
is just not to just create the expectation of what you think the world should look like for your kid. And then also be real with yourself. You got to be ready to be real with yourself. You got to be ready to like be better every day.
Wow. Very powerful closing. Well, I know you have a really busy day. Thank you so much, Tara. This means a lot to me. Thank you for Rush. It's changed my life. Thank you for the support, and I will see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Aloha. Thank
thanks.
you.
Bye.